Achieving a 1-plate overhead press is a very big milestone to a lot of people, the same way the 2-plate bench press is. And you need to know that getting to the 1-plate overhead press is a goal that is achievable by 99% of people. And I don't mean hitting it just for one repetition, I mean doing your normal 3 sets and performing several reps in each one. If you want to achieve this, you came to the right place. Because I'm going to simplify the whole process for you so that you just have to follow 4 simple steps and finally get to your goal. Step number 1. Learn how to press properly. The overhead press punishes bad technique more than almost any other lift. You might think that you are just weak at overhead press, which could definitely be true at least a little bit. But instead of instantly making it only a strength issue, it most likely also is a technique issue. Just by learning how to press properly, you can instantly add a couple of pounds to your overhead press. And if you want to get to a 1-plate overhead press, you need all the help that you can get. There are 2 main things that you have to look out for when doing the overhead press. The first one is your grip. Your hands should be just outside shoulder width. That is the sweet spot that will make you the strongest on the overhead press. Of course, this varies a little bit from person to person, but generally this is where you want to be. Because the wider your grip is, the weaker your ability to push the weight will be. The second thing that is absolutely crucial if you ever want to lift some respectable weight on the overhead press is a special cue that will help you press at your absolute best. You might have already heard about it before. It's called pushing your head through the window. This means that as you will press the bar up, you will need to move your head slightly back as the bar passes your face. Then push your head forward through the imaginary window. But this forward movement of the head should of course not be over exaggerated. As I always like to say, if you look like a chicken when you do it, you can be certain that you are doing it wrong. If you want to press one plate for multiple sets and reps, you need to do those 2 things I just talked about. There is no way around that. If you want to learn the full technique breakdown in depth with pictures and every single detail you should know, I highly recommend you check out the new beginner bundle, which includes a super in-depth technique guide for every single basic exercise, giving you the perfect start to your bodybuilding journey. And it's not only a training plan and a technique guide, it also comes with a nutrition and a cardio guide, so you will never get lost in any point of your journey. If you want to learn more about it, click the first link in the description. Step number 2. Press more often. Once your technique is solid, you need to start pressing more often. If you only overhead press once per week, your progress will obviously be slower. The overhead press responds extremely well to frequent practice. The more times per week you do it, the better you will become at it. And because getting to the goal of hitting a 1-plate overhead press is mostly something that lifters that are not advanced yet strive for, it's really important to practice frequently, because you are still more on the beginner side of things. The sweet spot is pressing twice per week, and you could even press 3 times per week, but then you have to be really careful to not completely destroy yourself, because the overhead press can get pretty taxing. So for most people, I would recommend sticking with 2 shoulder pressing sessions per week, because while it might seem like not that big of a deal how many times per week you press, the more familiar and comfortable you get with the press, the more weight you will be able to press in the long run. Step number 3. Switch your priority. This is what most people completely overlook, because it's not really what the average Joe in the gym thinks about. But it really isn't that difficult to understand why you should do it. If your goal is to build a strong overhead press, then the overhead press needs to come first in your workout, before the bench press, before the incline bench press, or any chest focused exercise. You can't expect your overhead press to improve if you are always training it in a fatigue state. When you bench first, your shoulders are already pretty taxed by the time you get to the overhead pressing. And that is not a situation you want to be in if your goal is to get to a 1-plate overhead press. Of course, switching priorities doesn't mean you stop training chest completely. You will just do it the other way around. Instead of starting the workout with the chest and then doing shoulders, you start off with the shoulders while you are still fresh and then do chest later. This change alone can completely skyrocket your overhead press progress, because if you are like majority of people, you have probably never even trained your shoulders while you are 100% fresh. So once you apply this, you will feel how powerful this change really is. Step number 4. Progression is key. This final step is where everything comes together. Progression is the bridge between where you are now and pressing one plate for multiple sets and reps. But without a progression plan, all your efforts will just go in vain. The goal is not to mindlessly add more and more weight even though you are clearly not ready for it. The goal is to own the weight before you move up, and this is where the rep goals come in. Instead of thinking, I must add weight today, think, I need to earn the right to add weight. So first of all, you need to pick a rep range. So for example, 3 sets of 5 to 8 reps. Once you got your rep range, here is how it works. You choose a weight that you can press for at least 5 reps in each one of your sets with good form, because that is the bottom end of the rep range you chose. and in the next session you try to do more reps with the same weight. So if in the last workout you achieved, for example, 6 reps in the first set, 5 reps in the second set, and 5 reps in the third set, your goal now is to increase any of these numbers by at least 1 rep in order for it to count as a successful progression. So if in the next workout you hit 6 reps on the first set, 6 reps on the second set, and 5 reps on the third set, you successfully progressed because you managed to do 1 more rep than last time. Over time, you work towards hitting the top end of the rep range on all sets. So for the example 5 to 8 rep range, your goal is to hit exactly 8 reps on all 3 of your sets. Once you achieve that, you are ready to increase the weight. But be careful, you should not be going over the top of the rep range. Once you hit the top end, you stop. So if we use the 5 to 8 example again, that would mean that your sets should never look like this, for example. Because if you go over the top of the rep range in your first set, this will most likely weaken you so much that you will not be able to get even close to hitting the top of the rep range on the rest of your sets. And if you're able to hit the top of the rep range on the rest of your sets, even though you went completely crazy on the first set, it just means that you use weight that was way too light in the first place. Your goal is to hit the top of the rep range on all sets and then increase the weight. Not to hit 10 reps on your first set and then only 7 on the rest of your sets. That is not how the rep goal system works. It's not necessarily wrong, but if you want to take advantage of the rep goal system and have the most clear and smooth progression, you should follow exactly what I explained to you. Otherwise, you are just going to confuse yourself. So hit the top end of the rep range on all of your sets, add more weight, and repeat. This is how you will always have the perfect weight set on the bar. But be careful when you add weight, you need to keep the increases small. Just use the smallest plate available in your gym. This might feel slow, but small jumps are the key to long-term overhead press progress. Once you add more weight, your reps will most likely drop back towards the lower end of the rep range, and that is completely normal. Remember, your job is to just repeat the same process again. Build the reps to the top of the rep range again, and then add more weight and repeat. Some weeks will feel easy, others will feel brutally hard, and that is just what happens. There will also be sessions where you don't beat your previous performance. Sometimes you will only be able to match your performance from last time, and sometimes you might not even be able to do that. And even though it might feel demoralizing, that is just how it is, and you can't let that drag you down. It's simply a part of the journey. And as long as you are consistent, you will progress in the long run. Because over months of steady progression, those small increases add up. You just have to be determined and not get discouraged when the times get rough. So if you commit to those 4 steps I showed you today, the results will come. And when that day comes and you finally achieve the 1 plate overhead press, you will be glad that you did it the way you did. Thanks for watching, I hope you learned something. Please don't forget to check out the beginner bundle by clicking the first link in the description. Good luck on your bodybuilding journey, and I will see you next time. If you like this video, then you will for sure like this one too.